Record. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to Talents Unlimited. We meet every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. California time. Today, we're going to be talking about why Toastmasters. John, I see you're here. Would you kindly give us a quick introduction of yourself and who twisted your arm to come to this meeting and say hello?
I think it was her. Wherever. My name is John Mikowski, DTM from Ridgecrest Possibilitarians, 64417. We're celebrating on May 8th our 20th anniversary. It was one of my projects. I had to actually support a club, coach a club, or make a club. And I chartered the club 20 years ago, and it's going strong. I took a short 8-year break, but I'm back again. So what happened? I was just watching one of your posts that Carolyn, I believe, put out on the topic, and I really appreciate the topic for tonight. Why Toastmasters?
Awesome.
Exactly.
Awesome. Great. Well, it's glad to see that somebody's looking at our posts and they're driving some interest. So welcome. I'm glad that you're here. We have this podcast, so it's a little different format. What we're going to do is we're going to start off the talk, and then we're going to make it interactive between us. So feel free to keep yourself unmuted and feel free to chime in as we go. But everybody know, the question is, why Toastmasters? Let's face it, we're not here to learn about, oh, let me tell you 3 things. 1, 2, 3. Hey, you know what? Go out on a date sometime, and when your partner tells you, tell me something about yourself, and you're going to sit there and say, well, I'm going to tell you 3 things. 1, 2, 3. Oh my goodness, that partner of yours is just going to get up and leave, and your date's just going to crash. Come on. Okay, we're not dealing with that, right? So the whole idea behind Toastmasters, you want to get rid of your ahs and ums. You want to become an eloquent speaker. You want to be able to learn how to communicate, which means you have to carry on a conversation. When you're talking and you're giving a speech, you don't want to be talking to your audience. You want to be talking with your audience. So you want to get the audience involved somehow, bring them into the conversation, allow them to feel what you feel, see what you see, hear what you hear, smell what you smell. You need to communicate these things. And that's what Toastmasters is all about. It's to be able to talk to each other, communicate, and actually get something moving forward. So Robert, in your opinion, so you've joined Toastmasters, you've been here a couple of years. How has this communication stuff started helping you in your everyday life outside of Toastmasters?
Well, first of all, I'm an opinionated person. However, when push came to shove, I would not be able to speak in public. Maybe with Jim one-on-one, but not be able to convey my feelings outside of that environment. And what Toastmasters has provided me is that safe environment. Let's face it, most individuals are scared to speak. If that's the number one reason why people don't speak in public, well, this Toastmasters environment provided me that safe environment where the feedback is constructive. And because it is constructive, it allows me to build more and more confidence to be able to speak. Now, how has it helped me in work, in my professional life? Well, presentations, being able to speak more fluently with the filler words. Let's face it, that still happens, but we practice and practice and practice. And through the constructive feedback, I get less and less and less. And someday I'll be that proficient speaker. But I use it every day in my in my career, presentations, virtually, especially virtually, because virtually speaking, we're only seeing each other's visually if we have the camera on. But because of vocal variety and the emotion behind my words, Toastmasters allowed me to be able to put emphasis on what I'm saying to get a feeling how Robert is really coming along.
Awesome. Carolyn, you're running your own business. How has Toastmasters provided you any benefit in your business? Calling all Carolyns. You're muted.
I didn't hear the question. I'm
Well,
sorry.
you're running your own business, the Mary Kay business and things that are going on. How has Toastmaster benefited you for your business? What has it done for your business?
Well, the thing that I guess it has done for me is maybe increase my leadership skills, and I say my listening skills in my business. That's what, and it may have increased my confidence some. Because when it comes to speaking, I got a lot of that when I was in my master's class, when I was trying to get my MBA. We did a lot of presentations. So taking that class took away my fear of presenting. But what I am learning in Toastmasters is things like PowerPoint, how to do a good PowerPoint, and mainly project management.
Awesome.
So
Thank
those are
you.
some of the things.
Thank you. So, John, Carolyn touched on the leadership skill aspect. Have you taken any of the Toastmasters leadership skills and put them to use in your group, in your meetings, in your life outside of Toastmasters?
Oh, definitely, yes. I've been with Toastmasters for quite a while. Under their influence, Ridgecrest Possibilitarians for the 20 years, and previous to that, a little bit of China Lake, and then also previous to that, we had Toast of the Town Toastmasters in Ridgecrest, California. That was in the 90s and so forth. The Joe Foster and Betty Jo Russell and people like that. And it was awesome. Area governor, division governor. It was awesome getting out of the club itself and expanding. It really made a difference outside of Toastmasters. Let me share with you this last week, and it's been happening for about 4 months now, when our local Salvation Army officers had to go out on leave or go somewhere on a council meeting. They have been asking me to take over the sermon for Sunday. And so I did like a 18 to 20-minute sermon last Sunday. And that's good that they could call on me to do something like that. Now, I'm also part of the local Star Trek fan club, Live Long and Prosper. And we're trying to actually activate a local club here. And we're taking some of the experiences that we get from Toastmasters, such as club formation, club directives, how to do club growth, get the word of mouth out. And so those items there is helping me. And Toastmasters, it's just intertwining. So it really helps out in a lot of different things, and also getting the confidence to do that. Making podcasts with Star Trek. I do have a Star Trek shirt, and I act like Captain John Mack from the Starbase Refuge, is where people do not have a local club. So it's only an online club. We're trying to keep them active in Star Trek interests and also trying to show them how to get local interest, starting with word of mouth. Just talk to people, talk to family and friends, and see if they would like to join the Star Trek Club, which is free, but you have to register every year to make sure it's updated. Or you could do a lifetime for a price. So that's what's happening with Toastmasters and outside of Toastmasters.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you, sir. But I noticed that you picked a Star Trek club to talk about. So it's clearly a pointed club, zoomed in on a single piece. So that's good. I like clubs that are like that, because then all your subjects are based on that one piece. And Robert here was instrumental in changing the way that we do our formats. So we are now doing this through a podcast format. So Robert, when we change this format, how do you feel its effectiveness is compared to a traditional Toastmasters meeting?
Less formality. We are having a conversation. We are presenting our views just as you would in a speech, but we are expressing ourselves in a fluid way. I have found out that most speeches, regardless of if it's within Toastmasters or outside of Toastmasters, not just myself, that when you are giving impromptu answers, impromptu speeches, you are more or less speaking from your heart. You're speaking from your own experiences versus something that is prepared. As an example, you gave Jim here a question. Excuse me, John, you gave John a question here, and he wasn't expecting that question. But the way he delivered his answer was fluid, it was clear, it was concise, it was positive. And we don't get that opportunity with a traditional Toastmasters type of agenda. Sure, there are some great speeches, but sometimes, you have those lingering questions that your audience may have that just that curiosity alone could bring out more information and want them to learn more about a certain subject and explore more within Toastmasters, depending on the pathway that that individual was using at that time.
Awesome. Carolyn, do you feel the same way?
I do. I do like the format where you can talk freely and not be contingent on like a specific topic. It is a specific topic, but you can have a conversation with everybody in the group. You're just not given a speech about something and then everybody's just listening. You get a chance to have feedback while you're doing the speech so that it's just more free form.
I agree. I I love this free form format. When I was giving the prepared speeches, even though I knew the subject matter, it always seemed to me that when I'm talking to my audience, and I'm giving them lists of facts rather than telling a story and combining it together and making it fun and interactive. I find with this particular format that we're using here, it's easy to express myself, it's easy to communicate, and it's easy to get something going between the group that happens to be here at the time. I can't imagine myself going to some event. I go to a bar somewhere, and you're gonna try to talk up a conversation, and you're gonna sit there and say, "Well, let me tell you," and then you list one, two. The guy's gonna look at you like, Who the heck are you? Get away from me. What the heck? I don't want to talk to you anymore. So if you're going to be doing this, public speaking needs to be based on conversation. It's the way to communicate and you get the points across between two different or more people than to sit there and say this. Because when you do that, it's like you're giving instructions. And people get instructions at work. They don't want it outside of work. So, John, tell me, you've been here. This is the first time that you've seen this type of format. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So you got a chance to answer once. Now I'm going to give you another chance to answer, even though you've only answered once. Did you feel more comfortable answering the one time you answered this time than you do at normal Toastmasters meetings?
Right. I think so. A little bit more comfortable because I'm not, it's prepared and I have to do it this way. And this is what I wrote down. This is what I remembered and all that. And this is more of the impromptu, like Robert was saying, from the heart, from what you're thinking and so forth. And yeah, I like that idea.
Awesome. So I'm going to throw a challenge out to you then, sir, and I would love for you to come back and tell me how this challenge works. I want you to go to your next Toastmaster meeting unprepared. And I want you to pick a topic that you know. Don't pick something you don't know. Pick something you know and give a 5 to 7 minute impromptu speech. And then come back and tell me how that worked for you.
I can do that.
Awesome. Now, Robert, if you're going to tell a story, when we're sitting here doing these type of things, I don't always start with once upon a time, right? But the story's there. So, when you're telling a story, how do you get your points across without saying A, B, C, D, E? Right? You want to get the point across and allow the person or the audience to remember what your point is. So how do you go about doing
As an example today, well, current events is one way of starting that conversation because there's many topics in current events. And to get the point across, first of all, when I'm reading it, I relate myself to the events. What am I thinking? Is this morally right? Is this wrong? There's some judgment in there, and each person has their own set of principles and how they view things. To get the point across, if you have to try to look at it at their point of view, because in any kind of a career, no matter where you're at, you have to try to, I don't want to use the word sell, but you're trying to convince your purchaser, you're trying to sell something, whether it's a presentation that you're giving, asking for additional funding, additional time, whatever the case may be. You're trying to get your point across to benefit them. Okay. You don't ever want to go asking somebody you don't want to ask something from somebody all the time because people get inundated with that daily. So what I try to do is, okay, if I'm presenting something, I try to relate something to them and how it may affect them and let them make up their own mind. But at least, normally speaking, what will happen is they'll ask questions. And when they ask that first question, then you know they've been listening. And when you have their attention, that's when you know, when they ask that question, that's when you know then you have your point across.
Does that little monster on the left-hand shoulder sit there and say, ha ha ha, I got you now?
No, but it does it is satisfactory. You know, there's a lot of satisfaction knowing that we're just not mouthing a bunch of words that nobody's listening to.
Of course. Now you mentioned a lot of things in there. And we the whole thing that we're talking about now is why Toastmasters. But
Mhm.
Toastmasters teaches you every single thing that you were just talking about. They talk about it.
Exactly.
They talk about your vocal variety. They talk about pausing. They talk about uh trying to persuade people, right? You even have a whole pathway on persuasion and how to go about getting your audience interested and writing the speech from the audience's point of view. So there's all sorts of different skills that are being taught in Toastmasters. So I don't I don't want to sit there and say, oh, Toastmasters is not important. It is. Toastmasters is important. And the skills they're trying to teach are important. But you want to be able to take those and you want to use them in your everyday life. You don't want to just sit there and get up and, oh, let me tell you three things. You can't, if life's not a prepared speech, right? Miss Vivian used to say that all the time. Life is not a prepared speech. And she's absolutely right. It's not. So when you get public speaking, you're going to go out there and everyone sits there and thinks public speaking is, I'm going to get on this big stage. I got to have the thing here and I'm going to have thousands of people in the audience. That's not public speaking. If you want public
That's
speaking,
it.
if you want public speaking, when you walk out of your private home and get on the sidewalk and the postman is there delivering your mail and you talk to that person, that's public speaking. When you go grocery shopping and you talk to that cashier, that's public speaking. Anytime you are out of your private home, you are in public. And when you speak, you're doing public speaking. So all the skills that you learn here in Toastmasters, you want to take those and you want to put them in your everyday life. Carolyn, how does this type of stuff, how has it helped you in talking to everyday people in your neighborhood?
Well, it has helped me because I'm pretty good at impromptu speaking now. Now, a lot of times when I give a speech, a lot of people think I put a lot of preparation into it. But a lot of my speeches that I have given lately are impromptu speak. I get up and look at the agenda for the day and see what the title is. And in my head, I formulate my speech. I don't write anything down. I just speak from the heart. So a lot of topics that you think you don't know a lot about, you do. Even the weather, whether it's hot or cold, windy, sunny. Twyla was a person said that you could give a speech about anything. Just look around your house and see what you have. And you can talk about it. You can tell a story. And that's to me what public speaking is about a story. Even if it's a memory from childhood, something you did in adulthood, or something that you made up. Because you can make up a story and the audience doesn't know whether that story is true or false unless you let them know, hey, this was a fiction story. But it seemed real because it's just how you tell your story. That's to me why people like to watch TV because the characters on TV, they they act like the person they're supposed to portray, not who they really are. So to me, that's, public speaking, you just go out like I go over there and talk to my neighbor. He likes to work on his cars. So I asked him about his car. What is he doing? What does he like to do? So, I'm pretty good. Public Toastmasters have helped me with the public speaking as far as being able to talk to people about different subjects.
Awesome. And you brought up the point about making things up. I always tell people, if you're gonna go out there and tell a story, don't let the truth get in the way. The facts don't matter. You're gonna tell a story, go in, make it a tall tale. Make it way out there, right? And cause people to, wow, really? You get a different response. You start making things up and make it a little fun. John, how many times have you done a tall tale type of story where you didn't allow the facts to get in the way?
Tall tales. I've done a couple of those with my grandson, where he would ask the question, why is the sky blue? It was like, because there was once a long, long time ago, blueberries that went up into the sky like balloons and they all popped. We would actually do a tall tale. And of course, he would really be looking there. We would dig a hole in the front yard, or I would, and I would put something in that hole and bury it back up again. And he would come home after school and dig up the hole and he would find dinosaur bones. Where did they come from? It must have been a kid from 1,000 years ago that buried his dinosaurs in this hole. Well, he's young enough to know, or young enough not to know. Oh, that's Grandpa doing that. No, maybe it could be a kid 1,000 years ago that put them in there. So yeah, tall tales is interesting, but yeah, there's a balance to that as well, because of course he's going to grow up enough to be that age saying, "Grandpa, you were lying to me."
I remember when my son was growing up and he wanted to get into a ruckus with some friends. I said, you know what? You can't be doing that kind of stuff. He goes, why not? They've been bothering me. I said, yeah, but the last time I did that, I stepped on a guy's shoes. I popped him in the chin going upwards, and he flew up there to the moon. Now that's why you have the man in the moon up there. And of
Now
course,
that's a tall one.
of course it is.
Very tall.
I also told him that Bruce Lee was my best student in martial arts. And he believed that until he was 35 years old.
And it's interesting you've asked Robert this a little bit, and he did elaborate on it. But I see how Toastmasters, they do have it structured: opening, body, 3 points, and then closure. But if we're actually telling ourselves a story, telling other people a story, the story, because it's so personal, it's a life story. I woke up in the morning and there it was. I went to bed thinking it was missing, and I woke up and it was there. So the opening of a story is there already without thinking, such as my homework, a 5 to 7 minute unprepared speech. I'll work on that. Those transitions are already there because life is a transition from one day to the next. How am I going to go from this topic to that topic? Well, sleep on it.
Osmosis is a wonderful thing. Yeah, it's funny you talk about the sleep on it stuff. Now this actually works. So if you're gonna get ready to go to a Toastmasters meeting and you have to give an impromptu speech, right? Such as your assignment, just go to bed at night and sleep on it. All right. So what happens is inside your brain, they're like file cabinets, right? So your conscious brain only uses the file cabinets that are open and can see what's in there. So if you sleep on it at night, and when your subconscious is going through those filing cabinets looking for the information, and then they pop it up and they leave that cabinet open. So when you wake up in the morning, your answer is there. I'm sure that you've done this many times going through school. You're having some kind of problem or math problem or something, and then you sleep on it. And when you wake up in the morning, you know how to solve the problem. It's because you have the information, it's already in your brain. Your subconscious went out and found it. And when you woke up in the morning, there it was. It'll
Yeah.
be the same thing with the speech. So you won't have any problem with giving an impromptu speech. I promise you. A lot of people think it's a big deal. It's really not a big deal. The hardest thing
I've seen
about
that.
it, go ahead.
I've seen that happening in my life a lot when what's the most prominent thing before I go to bed? If I watch the 11 o'clock news, I'll go to bed and sleep on it in a sense. And it's like subconsciously there's fear building up because of that. Or if I listen to soft music, piano playing, and things like that, that the most prominent thought, and I take it to bed with me. I have more calm sleep. Or if I am trying to study for an exam, okay, I studied it for an exam. Okay, let me just put it away for now and just go to bed. Okay, that last prominent thought, studying and all that, that takes in there and it starts opening up those filing cabinets, like you're saying, Jim. And it really works. Sleep learning. A lot of college people use that. Sometimes they'll turn on the alarm. They would have a mechanism in their pillow, the speakers, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're in deep sleep, but yet your radio turns on and it's playing a lecture or something. And then it picks up. Have you ever had a dream you're sailing the seven seas, and you wake up in the morning, you realize it was raining at that night, at that time? Subconsciously, we picked up the rainstorm outside. And so we dreamt about the seven seas. It works. It works. Yes.
Yeah, but I really did sail the seven seas. It was wonderful. That was a lot of fun. Well, if you're going to be Robert made, I think it was Robert. It's either Robert or Caroline. I forget which one. They said that you know a lot of different things, and I have to sit there and think to myself, well, what could I talk about? And then I thought about all the different things I've done in my life, and I'm saying to myself, oh my God, I've had such a fulfilling life. How many people have done as much as I have? It's just amazing all the things that I've done. So I'm very thankful for the experiences that God has put in my way. I go out there and I'm able to talk about any of these kind of things. And then when they get on to different subjects, it surprises a lot of people. I mean, by trade, I'm out there and I'm doing things with computer science and computer programming. But when someone starts talking about investing, and I can sit there and start carrying on a conversation and talking about investing, and I know what I'm talking about, that person's like looking at me like, what? They're surprised, right? Well, it's always fun to be able to take those type of experiences and put them out there. So if you ever have to give an impromptu speech, just pick one of your experiences. It's going to be a piece of cake. Trust me. Have a lot of fun with it, John. When you do your homework, have a lot of fun with it. Robert, sir, now that we've gone through some of the things that I had talked about, what do you think the most important thing is as to why someone should get into Toastmasters?
Wow, there's a multitude of reasons. One of them,
Pick one.
forging friendships. You would be surprised. You would be surprised by just having a conversation in a positive way of what you can find out about an individual, their likes or dislikes. When we change directions in this kind of a venue, we have found out more about you and you about me. It wasn't a prepared speech. It's just us that's coming out. Having said that, when we have those conversations, we are basically presenting ourselves to the world, to that other individual. And you'd be surprised on how many people are like-minded. Of course, there's some that are not, may not agree with everything that you say. But being able to foster I mean, finding out that you're like-minded, you're actually spreading, you're enhancing your network. You're spreading your community is getting larger and larger and larger. And without even knowing it, you're expanding your network. And we all know how that network could benefit us professionally, coming from a personal conversation.
Awesome. I agree. I remember when we first talked back over at Boston Scientific, and ended up you coming in the Toastmasters, and boy, we've just blossomed our friendship because of that. So I thought it was a wonderful thing to do. And I absolutely agree with you. I think friendships are something that you can really develop in Toastmasters that most people don't even think about. But it happens. Carolyn, what do you think the most important reason someone should join Toastmasters is?
It's increased their self-confidence and reduce their speech anxiety. So people that have anxiety about speaking, they lack self-confidence in getting in front of an audience or even speaking to a small group like this. In Toastmasters, especially if you practice your impromptu speaking, you have less anxiety about speaking. And it does increase your confidence every time you come to a meeting or just go anywhere to do a speech. You have more confidence.
Hey, now we have two differences of opinion here. And of course, I'm going to ask John the same question, and we're certainly going to have a third one here. I I I know that Carolyn talked about fear of public speaking. Now, you guys probably had that type of fear. I don't understand that fear. I've never had that fear of getting out and talking in public. Even when I ran for lieutenant governor of Florida back in 2006, it was nothing to get up on a soapbox and just give a 15-minute speech. It just doesn't bother me to talk to people. So I don't understand the fear, but I do know that people have it. And I agree with Carolyn. Toastmasters builds that self-confidence. It breaks you out of that shell and it puts you on a higher pedestal than you were when you first joined. All right, John, it's your turn, my friend. What do you think the most important thing Toastmasters can teach people is?
I'm going to have to give you two.
Okay.
Two examples that were actually presented to us. Toastmasters. Why Toastmasters? Because the doctor prescribed it. We had a member in our local club here that got into a car accident and got brain injury. And the doctor prescribed Toastmasters to keep his brain going, get him thinking, get him to be active like that. And so Toastmasters could be good medicine. And the second one is let's take this mutually supportive and positive environment. What about that combative and destructive individual? Or how about that negative personality? There's that song, accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. How are we going to do that if we can't find the people that know what mutually supportive and positive means? Let alone communication, leadership. Communication and leadership in a mutually supportive and positive learning environment could really make a change in that person's life. More positivity in the person's life could change their mindset from negative to a more positive. I was in that negative spot. Now, Jim, you were saying that you don't know or have never experienced in that sense. But some people, like myself, I was growing up and stuff, middle child, I'm no good, I'm trash and, I'm just a piece of dung and all that. And I started to believe that. And so I was so negative. And one aspect of why Toastmasters for me is because of the positivity. I'm learning positivity from Carolyn. I'm learning positivity from Jim, Robert, from others within the Toastmasters program. Sometimes I see, well, that individual, they're in the same reason for I am, for the positive environment. Where do we go to change that negative mindset? And I believe Toastmasters is one of those places. Back to you, Jim.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Oh, we've gone through a lot of different things here. And you guys pointed out what you thought was one of the most important things to you as to why people should get into Toastmasters. I think the most important thing of getting into Toastmasters is because people can learn to be a service leader, which is totally different from everything that you guys say. I I have always been of the mind that if I took in all the information in the entire world and I knew everything, I would be omnipotent. I would be God. But if I died and didn't pass that information on to anybody, then all that information was useless. So it gives me a chance to be a service leader, a mentor, a chance to take someone who doesn't know something and be able to teach them something new and change their life. And to me, that is awesome. If I could go out there and I can change someone's perspective on something and let them become a public speaker and be able to do whatever it is they need to do, they'll take on leadership skills and change the world. That would be awesome. All right,
How long
everybody.
have you had that mindset? How
I've
long?
had that mindset since I was 8.
And
So
where did you get such a mindset at such an early age?
I was in a situation just like you. I was the middle child, and everyone told me, I can't, I can't, I can't. And I kept telling them, get out of the way and let me do it.
Excellent, Jim.
So by
Excellent.
the time I was 11, I had my whole entire life mapped out. And my parents sat there and said, oh, you'll change your mind 1,000 times between now and then. No, I mapped it out. I followed it through. I'm still working on the last 2 goals. I'm not yet a millionaire. I'm very close, not yet a millionaire, and I don't own my own island. So those are still the 2 goals I'm working on.
And you know what, John, I can vouch for the early age of his development because when we used to have conversations, he would still have the same gumball machines by his desk.
The big old M&M machine. So this was an awesome conversation. I truly enjoyed it. I thank all of you for participating. We're going to go ahead and close this out. I want to remind everybody we are Talents Unlimited. We meet every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. California time. Please come join the fun. We'll see you next week.